Coming up on Mountain News at 6, we hear from officials after a car fire in Laurel County was intensified by high winds. And lawmakers continue to rally around survivors following last month's flood as rebuilding efforts continue.
And we're getting a break from the rain right now across eastern Kentucky, but snow chances will pick up overnight. Details coming up.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
High winds swept through eastern Kentucky last night and into today, fueling multiple fires in the region. WYMT's Caroline Mueller tells us about a car fire officials say was intensified by those winds.
What started as a small car fire quickly led to the vehicle being engulfed in flames from the engine to the trunk. Ricky George, the battalion chief for the London City Fire Department, says it took 2 fire trucks and about 20 minutes to put it out. But high winds made the situation even more dangerous.
Fire feeds off of oxygen, and oxygen is, the wind comes from the oxygen. So when it was pushing from the south, it was just building the fire more and more.
Fire officials say the driver smelled smoke coming from his car while driving down Highway 192. He then pulled into the Frisch's Big Boy parking lot where you can now see behind me debris that was left behind by the fire.
I would say percentage-wise, it probably ups it 30 to 40%, just for a simple fact you're having to fight the fire plus the wind, and you got fluids pushing everywhere. So it's like at first it's a losing battle, but my guys last night got it contained pretty quick and got a good knockdown on it.
While the cause of fire is still under investigation, officials say it serves as a warning during fire season. Pete Gigerian with the National Weather Service in Jackson says in Laurel County, wind speeds were more than 40 miles per hour.
Wind is probably the single biggest effect on fire behavior. So anytime you get strong winds, those fire lengths just grow exponentially. So when you have an ongoing fire and then you have strong wind gusts occurring during that fire, you can get some pretty extreme fire behavior in general. We did have a red flag warning yesterday because of the high winds and also the dry air mass that was in place leading up to the rain that eventually came in overnight last night.
No one was seriously hurt, but the driver was checked out for smoke inhalation. Meanwhile, fire and weather officials say these conditions could lead to more fires, and they're asking everyone to be extra cautious. In London, Caroline Mueller, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, hopefully the rain helped a little bit today. From now until April 30th, though, burning is not allowed between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. within 150 feet of the woods or brush. Now, more total burn bans were put into place throughout parts of our area. We know of total burn bans in Knott County, also in Perry and Wayne counties, in addition to the ones we told you about last night. Well, high winds also caused problems today in Pulaski County. At one point, thousands in the county were without power. One woman woke up to the roof being blown off her home. Neighbors jumped into action to help the woman in the Piney Grove Road area. The roof landed across the street after what was believed to be winds pushing 60 miles per hour. Emergency officials were still assessing the extent of the damage this afternoon.
It was pretty bad, though. I mean, there's limbs. You go further down Piney Grove, I had to move limbs to even get out to get here.
South Kentucky RECC officials say several thousand people were still without power by this afternoon.
So we had a line of showers pushed through earlier today. Take a look at some of the rainfall totals courtesy of the Kentucky Mesonet stations. Harlan, 3/4 of an inch of rain since midnight. 3/200 of an inch near Whitesburg. 3/800 of an inch near Hindman. Jackson, 1/1800 of an inch. You go up to Louisa, about 1/1200 of an inch there. McKee, just under a ½ inch. And we are getting a break from that rain right now, but more is expected throughout the evening and overnight hours. Made it into the 60s, even upper 60s today, but unless you were up around 1250 this morning, you didn't see our high as the temperatures fell throughout the day. And right now we're seeing temperatures in the 30s and 40s. We're at 39 in Irvine, 37 in Somerset, 40 in London, 43 Manchester, 45 in Harlan, as well as Jonesville. So here's live pinpoint Doppler radar. There's the break that was mentioned throughout portions of the area. Rain chances will pick up throughout the overnight hours, and then it's going to transition into this. That is snow falling across portions of Kentucky as well as southern and southwestern Indiana. That's our weather maker as we go throughout the overnight hours. We'll time everything out coming up in the First Alert forecast in just a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thanks. One person is dead after a crash in Letcher County. State police responded to the Big Branch area in the Halley community just before 4 a.m. They say 62-year-old Anthony Cottle was in a pickup when the vehicle went off the road before overturning on the shoulder of the road. Cottle was pronounced dead at the scene by the Letcher County Coroner's Office. A murder case is moving forward in Whitley County. Court records show a grand jury indicted John Lang for the murder of his brother-in-law, Richard Willoughby. Police say Willoughby was shot in Lang's home after an argument in January. Neighbors say police were called there earlier in the day, but nobody was arrested. Lang is being held on a $1 million bond. We do not know when he will be in court next. With cars still submerged and school campuses coated in debris, even churches were not spared when floodwaters raged through the region last month. WYMT's Buddy Forbes spoke to two pastors in Pike County who are dealing with the devastation.
Up to here.
For Pastor Jesse Taylor, it is not what the floodwaters left behind that hurts the most, but what they took away.
It's torment. I hate to even look at it because of the hurt that it brings up within me.
The February waters washed out the bottom story of his mouthguard ministry, ripping out the foundation of a place that has been a foundation for faith since the 1960s.
It's been here so long, and there's been so many people that gave their heart to God, so many prayers that's been answered, and all of that, it's gone. You know, the memories went down with it.
Taylor says with too many structural issues to overcome, his small congregation will have to find another place to worship. So he is just praying for donations to help them get back on solid ground.
And it's not just this church, it's other community churches that get impacted when floods come like this. That's the place where you rally.
Less than 15 miles away,
come to this point.
Pastor Terry Gibson says his Elkhorn City Church was a little luckier.
But when the flood comes, you just watch it come. There's not much you can do. This is 2 times in 2 years.
Water reached inside of the sanctuary, destroying doors, appliances, and 35 pews.
As you can see, our pews across the road.
And though the church had just gotten back on its feet after flooding in 2023, Gibson says the donations and community support have been heartwarming.
When there's hard times, it seems like they come together, especially in this community around Elkhorn. They come together, they show more love than I've ever seen. This has actually been the saving point for this church.
So as his members work to repair, they are praying for their neighbors who are hoping to rebuild.
God blessed us thoroughly. We still have a home, and we have each other.
Saying the flood was mighty, but their faith can move mountains. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Gibson says his members and donors have already helped fix their floor and cleaned up, while Taylor says he is just beginning to create an online fundraiser as they assess the damage. Folks in 13 eastern Kentucky counties can apply for disaster SNAP benefits. People in Breathitt, Clay, Estill, Floyd, Harlan, Johnson, Knott, Lee, Letcher, Martin, Owsley, Perry, and Pike are eligible to apply. Applications will be accepted until March 12th, next Wednesday, with the exception of Sunday. To apply, you should call the Department for Community-Based Services call center at 1-855-306-8959. The Churches of Christ Distribution Center for Flood Victims has made its way to eastern Kentucky. Based out of Nashville, Tennessee, the organization responds to major disasters in the U.S., donating supplies to local Churches of Christ. In our area, Hemp Hill Church in Jackhorn in Letcher County and in Perry County, the Lothair Church of Christ have both been used as distribution centers. The Lothair Church in Hazard outgrew its needs for supplies, which now has moved to the pantry shelf.
so our family and the families here know what it's like to see the loss of 2022, and we just want to do what we can to help our neighbors.
The Churches of Christ have boxes prepared with non-perishable food items, hygiene products, and more. The Hemp Hill Distribution Center is open daily, and the pantry shelf is open Tuesdays and Thursdays. More FEMA disaster recovery centers are open this week for those affected by flooding. FEMA representatives at the Floyd County Board of Education site are explaining how to apply for assistance and help connect survivors with resources to help them recover. Terry Chaffins lives in Martin and had 4 inches of water in his home. He just registered with FEMA and is hoping they will be able to provide financial help.
As I told him up at FEMA, I said, you know, it's really put a struck on me. I mean, it's really hurt my lifestyle. I mean, it destroyed all my tools and stuff like that I can't get back up on my feet right now.
The center at the Floyd County Board of Education is open Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. and Sundays from 1 until 7 p.m. Many businesses are trying to bounce back following the flood, including here in Perry County. Billy Moore is no stranger to overcoming obstacles. His printing shop flooded in 2022. Now he's back in the same boat. He says he has not lost as much equipment as he did in 2022, but this time he fears he may be losing stamina to make it to the other side.
Right now it's a financial thing more than anything. You start getting into some of this stuff, you know, it's $1,000 here and $1,000 there before you know it, you know. You $10,000, $15,000 before you know it, and I ain't got it no more. Financially, I don't know if we're gonna be able to open back up. I mean, it's tough.
Perry County Emergency Management Director Jerry Stacy says numerous businesses are facing the same harsh reality, but Stacy says he still has a lot of hope people will find a way. Kentucky lawmakers are continuing to rally around survivors of the Valentine's Day weekend flood as the rebuilding continues. WYMT's Amelia Lee spoke with 2 political leaders about the current situation.
Some folks have called it one of the worst floods they've seen in eastern Kentucky. Congressman Hal Rogers says he will continue to back the people in this area.
Our people are hurting. They don't deserve this. And I'll be there trying to help alleviate the pain that they're suffering now.
With an added promise that things will get better for the resilient people of Appalachia.
We've got to assure our people that all of us are doing all that we know how to do to try to alleviate their pain.
Senator Brandon Smith says he has goals for Perry County to become less susceptible to inevitable flooding.
We've been hit with 2 of them now, and while I can't do anything about the weather pattern, I can make sure that our house is right, that we've got our house in order for when this stuff comes. And when I say house, I'm talking about my district.
Even in the worst of times, Eastern Kentuckians are seen coming together, building back, neighbors helping neighbors.
After every flood, we rebuild and we repurpose. We don't quit, and we'll lick this thing in the end. So Eastern Kentuckians, stand firm, stand tall. We'll be with you.
In Perry County, Amelia Lee, WYMT Mountain News.
And we will have more information about an issue that's being talked about a lot recently, dredging rivers, streams, and creeks. That's coming up in the near future here on WYMT.
Wind advisory continues for the majority of the viewing area until 7 o'clock. We'll tell you everything you need to know coming up in a few minutes.